Hi there, I'm Jim.
And I'm Charles.
Let's talk teaching. Welcome to Let's Talk Teaching, a podcast from the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology here at Illinois State University. I'm Jim G. Joining me today, Charles Bristow. Hi, Charles.
Hi, Jim.
Hey, we're talking ReggieNet.
We always talk ReggieNet when we get together, don't we?
We do a lot of talking about ReggieNet. Well, specifically, we're talking about new for the fall of 2018. ReggieNet has gotten more than a new coat of paint. There have been some significant upgrades to ReggieNet. Tell us about it.
There have, yes. We did an upgrade to the new version, July 26th, if I'm remembering the date right. And we've got some new tools. We've got some changes to old tools that I think faculty will like. The first thing you'll see when you log in is there's a little bit of a change in kind of the overall layout a little bit. The navigation buttons have been streamlined a bit, so they take up a little bit less space, so that's nice. We have two new tools.
Okay.
So tools are the main things that you see in that left-hand navigation. Things
Right.
like the familiar tools that you know are tests and quizzes, assignments, the syllabus tool, things like that. So we have two new tools. One is a tool it's called the attendance tool for taking attendance. And it does allow you to grade attendance. And the other tool is called the Commons tool. And that's I'm always having a hard time kind of describing what this one is. It's sort of a social media type tool. It allows students or any user in the site to post a kind of an update. You can post a picture or a link as well. And there's one level of reply. So it's kind of a social area, course cafe. I heard somebody refer to it as.
Right. It strikes me as being like a forum, but there is a separate forum tool, which is much more in depth, and you can have threaded conversations, and it can be graded. This one, you cannot grade, first of all, right?
Not directly from within the tool. So it in some sense, yes, it is a very simplified forum tool.
Yeah.
You just have one discussion area. You don't have multiple ones like you can have in the forums tool.
Yeah.
But some faculty might be interested in using it just as a simple place to answer questions or kind of build community within their course.
So those are the two new tools that have been added to ReggieNet. Other changes, I know that there have been some significant improvements to a few of the greatest hits, for lack of a better term. So I'm thinking in particular the Gradebook and the test and quizzes tool.
Yep. So in the Gradebook, they have improved the kind of the navigation and scrolling issues that I know some faculty were having issues with. So now all students in your roster are displayed automatically. There's a vertical scroll within that, so you can scroll up and down. And the horizontal scroll bar stays at the bottom of the screen. You don't have to go all the way down to the bottom of the list to get to that horizontal scroll.
Some podcasters had problems with that, not just full-time members of the faculty. It was one of those things that just when the new Gradebook tool, because the Gradebook we're using is relatively new.
Correct.
And I think that was just something that got by when the community built it the first time. And where they only had classes with 8 students in it, and so it didn't matter.
That could be. Maybe they all had. That university has all small courses. So that's actually a big improvement. There's also a new item order button in the Gradebook that makes it a lot easier for you to adjust the order in which you see items in the Gradebook, what order they are as columns, at least within a category. You just click on the button and it's drag and drop within that to change the order. So that's made that a lot simpler as well.
And as far as the tests and quizzes tool goes, I think there's another.
That's another nice
biggie.
New feature. There is now built into the settings something called, and now I'm trying to remember exactly what it's called.
Is it the extended
delivery exceptions, which allows you to select a student or a group and change either the delivery dates and or the time limit that a student has to take that particular assessment. Previously, if you wanted to manage that kind of situation, for example, if you had a student who had gone through student accommodations and was allowed to have extra time to take an assessment, you had to duplicate the quiz, create a group, release the duplicate to that group, and then manually transfer a score. Now that's all built into the original quiz. It's much simpler to do.
Yeah, I think that was a long requested feature. So at least it was a problem that had long been identified. Faculty members were asking us come up with something to fix this. So I think that's a really that and the gradebook scrolling are two big wins.
Yep. There's been a little bit of change to the assignment tool.
Oh yeah.
The first time an instructor looks at the assignment editing screen, they're going to see that all of the options have been reordered. Well, not all of them, but quite a few. It's a little bit disconcerting at first because you might be used to seeing the due date as one of the first things near the top. That's been moved down. The reorganization they did actually makes sense. They've kind of grouped similar things together now. So, the title and instructions are together.
It's a much more logical workflow, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. It's
just different than what we're used. So if you're doing it on muscle memory, you're gonna take a little while.
Yeah, you might get a little bit of a cramp or something in your muscle, but everything's still there. It's just in a somewhat different order, and it really does. It's an order that makes more logical sense, particularly if you've never seen the way it was before.
Yeah.
Another new feature in the assignments tool is there's now kind of a soft delete. If you delete an assignment, kind of goes into a trash area, and that can then be restored without having to go through any rigmarole of contacting us and saying, "Oh, cool. I accidentally deleted an assignment." And along with that, if there are submissions to that assignment, the submissions come back as well. Right. So you don't lose anything.
So you're not losing your students' contributions or your students' data either. Yep. That's cool. Yeah, and people may not have realized that if you had accidentally deleted something, what you had to do was put in a help desk ticket or contact CTLT directly, and we would help you through this. So I'm familiar, in my teaching, I use Gradebook. Obviously, I use tests and quizzes sometimes. Certainly make use of the assignment tool. I don't use the lessons tool a lot, but I understand that there were a couple of additional features that were added this time around for lessons as well.
That's correct. So the lessons tool is a tool that you can use to present content. You can also, interspersed with that content, you can also put in links to other items within the course, like tests and quizzes, individual assignments, links to forums. You can now also embed the announcements tool within a lessons page, which shows the most recent announcements. You can embed the course calendar if you're using that particular tool. And you can also embed the most recent forums conversations. The other nice thing that got added to the lessons tool is if you use subpages, you can now enable subpage navigation in the left-hand navigation bar so that a lessons page will be a link in that left-hand navigation. It will now turn into a little drop-down where it will then display the subpages, and you can directly access them from the left-hand navigation no matter where you are in the course.
And kind of the best practice I know we talk a lot about, I know Linda Summers, our colleague, talks a lot about when she's working with faculty on online courses, is that you want to list out the either by weeks, I know a lot of instructors do, or some other order on that left-hand side menu. So they don't have to go digging too deeply into the system in order to find what they need to be doing and to make sure that they're on track because of a self-paced sort of learning thing. So that sounds like it's a pretty sort of handy tool. We have our challenge that we usually have when we talk about ReggieNet, which is that it's a very visual thing, and we're doing a very non-visual podcast.
Right, I'm sort of waving my hand here, pointing out to the left-hand navigation, and there's nothing to point to.
We should let people know that you and some of our other colleagues here at CTLT have been spending the summer updating documents, and I know we're starting to get videos updated and whatnot on our website, which is ctlt.illinoisstate.edu. You'll see a big ReggieNet logo on the screen, and that will get you to CTLT's ReggieNet support pages, and from there you can very easily find a lot of those handouts and stuff. So what else do we need to let people know?
Well, one other thing that doesn't necessarily directly impact faculty as much as it does students is the mobile view has been improved a great deal. And I know some instructors also look at ReggieNet on their phone if you want to check something quickly. Particularly kind of the main navigation and just getting from one course to another, has been vastly improved,
And
I think.
I think you're right. Students will really appreciate the enhancements to the mobile view. In the survey we did in the spring of students, we found that more than half of the students who responded said, yes, they do use their phone to access ReggieNet. They're not doing, we hope, they're not taking quizzes and stuff on it. It's not, most of them disagree that it's their primary way of accessing ReggieNet, but, I hear anecdotally from students that they want to just jump in and see what's due today. Or they want to jump in, or if faculty members have opted to use a communication tool in ReggieNet that requires them to log in as opposed to just getting an email.
Right.
That's handy too.
So yeah, it makes it easier for them to jump in and navigate around, and for instructors as well. So
we probably need to mention. We may edit this out. I always like to end this by asking you what's next, but we know what we want to have next in ReggieNet, right? And it almost made it into this version of Sakai, which is the engine that runs ReggieNet.
Right. And what Jim is talking about is rubrics.
The electronic rubrics, having rubrics. And when we're talking about rubrics in ReggieNet, we're not just talking about what I do already, which is copying and pasting an HTML table with feedback for students into the assignments tool. This is an integrated, very complicated sort of thing. And unfortunately, the community just missed it by that much.
So yeah, this new rubrics tool will be, when you add it to your course, you will be able to, at least it's our understanding. I don't want to make any absolute promises.
No, we really shouldn't. And this is probably about a year out.
Yes. So it's our understanding that it should be included in the next version. So whenever we get to upgrading to the next version of Sakai, then this tool will be included. And the intention is that it will be integrated with the assignments tool, the forums tool, individual gradebook items. So if you've got a gradebook item that you want to use a rubric for that's not being mediated through something else, and even short answer questions in the tests and quizzes tool.
This is my happy sound.
So it seems very, very likely that will finally appear in the next version of ReggieNet.
We know there has been great interest for this on our campus. We know that there's pretty strong interest for this on many campuses that use Sakai to power their learning management system. So I think in the very least we can confidently say that it's going to happen at some point.
Yep.
Which we may not have been able to have said even just a couple years ago. And this is something that really has gotten a lot of input from a lot of people. So we're excited about it. So
something good coming in the next version as well.
In the next version, always something to look forward to. So, well, Charles, thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
And that's all the time we have for this episode of Let's Talk Teaching. You can find out much more about our podcast and, of course, about support for using ReggieNet for your teaching. Go to ctlt.illinoisstate.edu. For Charles Bristow and for all my colleagues here at the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology, until we talk again, happy teaching.